So today I'm going to present to you about what I have done, what I have to learn, and what I suggest if you do a similar project. So first off, my project is trying to make a electrostatic dust filter. Of course DIY mostly. So firstly, what I have done, I have created some hexagon shape copper pieces that is going to act like a filter, and also the power supply unit, which is a voltage multiplier. And next is what I have learned. What I have learned is that the power supply unit, which is the voltage multiplier, the output is basically, if at each stage it's just storing the mains and then adding it to the next capacitor to make it so it keep having the main of the equivalent of the main power going through each stage. And that brings me to what I face. That's quite a few. The first problem that I found like almost immediately is that copper at this thin level is easy to bend, also bent. So basically what happened is it fell off my table and got bent, and someone else put something on top of one of my older prototype, which basically squished it to be just almost a pancake. The next problem that I face is with the dust I use to test it, which the first one is basically like a smoke. You would think that it would float really well, but it's just a nightmare basically. It just keep going outside and never go in the main filter. And the next one is that when I try to use water droplets, it's making the firstly the mesh just clog up with water, and secondly, if I don't clean it out fast enough, it's going to rust. So, and the last one is that the voltage multiplier, like I said before, it keep the main voltage, not boost it by 2 and then keep it on the secondary capacitor. So what I find is I'm trying to test with 800 volt instead of the intended 1.5 thousand volt, which basically cut the power output in half. And all my measurement for trying to get what the input power, everything just like being really messy, and there's a lot of noise, so those data is not really good. So what I suggest for if you're trying to do something similar to this is, firstly, give yourself a lot of time. I thought I'm going to complete it in 10 weeks. I got basically nowhere. Half of the time I just spent trying to get the main circuit to work properly and hopes it don't blow up, which I blow up 3 of the components like into power up. So yeah, say like double check and try everything you can to like check that everything is okay before trying anything, and check that it is correct. Next is that maybe use a bit of a thicker copper so it's a bit harder to damage it out. And next is that the grid, it's going to be better if you use aluminum instead of like metal or steel, so it don't rust easily in case of any water ending up in there. And other than that is going to be that if you don't have a gentle wind going through, it's going to be very hard to get the smoke into the system, and if it's too hard, it's going to be blowing everything to just not able to be seen. And that's my recommendation about the DIY process of making yourself a electrostatic filter. More later, but this is the report.